Hello everyone, this is Dave from Unplugged Woodworking, and today I'm going to show you how to level some legs. This could be used to level legs on a chair, on a bench, which I'm doing this bench behind me here. It could also be used to change the height of a table, chairs, or even if you've got an uneven or a rocky table or a rocky chair, the same principle applies. So before I get into it, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button. It really helps us out with the algorithm. So I'm going to get straight into this video. Okay, so I've just built this bench. It's nearly finished, but I need to alter the height of the legs. So the total height, as the client requested, was 45 centimeters. So I need to alter it to 45 centimeters, but I also need to level the legs. So ideally, how I normally do something like this, I normally go into the house and I use the floor on the living room. So the living room floor, it's very flat. It's probably the most levelest floor I've ever worked on, basically. But for the purposes of this video, plus it's really wet, muddy and slippy outside, and I don't want to risk basically getting this covered in mud, basically. So I'm going to do a chat. As you can see, I've got this balanced on my Roman workbench. Again, this is not ideal, but it is what it is. For purposes of recording this video, this is what I'm going to do. So I've already leveled the Roman workbench, so I know the Roman workbench to be level and true in both directions. Obviously this way and away and towards myself, I know it to be level. So as I said, if you're going to do this, you're better off trying to do it on a solid floor. It's just going to be that much easier. And obviously in here is not ideal. There's not a lot of room, but it is what it is. So as I said, I know this to be level, so I've obviously got these legs on two pieces of material which are the same thickness, and this is going to be my starting point. So you could consider this as the floor. So the first thing I'm going to do is to check the level, how I'm sitting for level with this bench. So the point to take note of is that if you are doing something like this, any sort of bench, whether it's a brand new bench or you're kind of leveling an old bench, you might have an old bench and it's a bit rocky, same as a chair. The thing you want to do is to check for twist, and especially if it's something long like this. So I've just built this and I know it to be true. I know there's no twist in it, so that's just one thing you want to take into consideration. So I'm just going to check along it, and that's consistent. So the bench is actually running down towards yourselves, so that's consistent all the way along. And it's saying it's okay here, so I'm just checking along just to double check. So that's actually not too bad. So another note I'd like to make you aware of, this is only a small spirit level. This is only spirit level I've got. Ideally you would be using something with a longer length. You're going to get a better reading as long as it's true. So that's just something to bear in mind. So as I said, the bench seems to be leaning down towards the camera, going left to right. It seems to be pretty decent. So is what we're going to do, we're just going to start packing up the legs, and basically just as we pack it up, we just basically check it for level. Okay, as I said, the bench is actually running down this way, so I know I need to alter the height of the two outside legs, this leg and the other leg along here. So when you're doing this, you can use a number of things. You could use wedges, little shims of wood. In this case, I'm just going to use some cardboard. It doesn't have to be high tech, you know, we're just looking to get the job done. So basically I'm just going to slide that under, and I check the level on top of here, so it still says it's not level. So I'm going to fold this again like so. So it still needs to go yet again. I think that might be it there, maybe. So that doesn't look too bad there. Okay, so I'm going to pack this leg up now. I'm just using some scrap. This was just basically like literally lying on the floor. This is just a scrap piece of plywood. I think it's a 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to pop that on, and I'm going to check the level on top. Okay, so I've got this shimmed up. I'm happy with the level on top. So is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start marking all the legs. So I've already marked this. I marked this off camera, and I've basically just measured down from the top of the bench, obviously to the pencil line, and that's 45 centimeters, and that's the required height. So basically I'm going to set a pencil for this height. So typically when you normally do things like this, or if you're doing something with a chair, you might only have a minuscule piece to take off, you know, so you might actually get away with just maybe just putting the likes of a pencil, you know, if it was only minuscule, or maybe onto a piece of ply and just scribing around it. But in this case it's this high. I could take this off and I could recut it a little bit shorter, but I don't need to do that. I've just quickly drilled a hole in this L bracket. These L brackets are typically used to line boards up for dovetailing and such. You know, it's an exact 90 degrees. I have recently just started drilling holes in them to do things like this. I really need to build myself a leg scribe, a chairmaker's leg scribe. Possibly might do a video on it in the very near future, but as it is, this is what I'm using today. So pretty much, you know, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You just work your way around. So I've done 2 legs, and then I'm going to get the other 2 legs and we're going to be ready to cut. I've got the bench tipped on its side. Admittedly, sometimes these can be a little bit awkward to get clamped in place, especially, you know, I've got a lot of rounded edges, so you know, it wants to slide and it wants to move. I have actually got it clamped at the back here. I've got a couple of pegs in place to stop it from moving around should it want to move around. If you're doing this, depending on what you're doing, you might have to have a bench support, meaning you might only be able to cut the bottom legs first, and then you might have to turn the bench over. As it is, these are stake tenons, conical tenons, so these legs are really strong, so I am going to be able to cut the 2 of them as they are, where sometimes you will have to basically have that one to the bench to support it. You know, some chairs are like that, some tables are like that, but in this case I can cut the 2, like I said. So also, if the square legs, I will admit, I find it personally easier to cut square legs. Even hexagonal legs, I find hexagonal legs to cut a little bit easier. The round legs, I think for me it might be more of an optical illusion and a bit something in my mind, but I do find them, I wouldn't say they're awkward, it's just they're not as easy for me in any way. So I'm just going to use my Ryoba Good saw. If you want to check one of these out, there will be a link in the description. Really good saws. That is an affiliate link, a bit of a disclaimer, so it won't cost you any more, it won't cost you any less, but I do get a little kick out of it. So if you want to check that out, go check it out. So typically when I cut these, I like to start at one side, and basically as I'm cutting down, I like to follow the line down as I'm cutting, and then is what I'll normally do. I'll normally go to the other side. So on this side I've actually created a curve, a saw curve, so when I go start cutting this side, the saw's got something to follow. It's basically got the curve to follow, and that's how I do it, and I get pretty decent results with that. So I'll start on the top, like so. So I'm not interested in cutting this side. What I'm interested about is following my line on this side. So I'm just doing this very gently. So I'm maybe about a quarter of the way into the leg here. I've tracked my line all the way down. It's near enough to the very bottom. So is what I'm going to do. I'm going to swap my position and start the cut from the centre and work down this way. I've got the saw in here and I'm using that curve to start tracking for this line. I'm following the line all the way down. And there we go. But that's one leg cut. I'm going to cut the other three, and then we're going to do the final stage, which is going to be to add a chamfer to stop the splitting of the material. Something I forgot to mention when I was actually marking these out is that you don't actually have to use something like this. This was just handy and I used it. It's actually quite common for myself to use just scraps of wood. I might have, you know, 1 to 2, even sometimes 3 scraps of wood. Use some masking tape, mask them together, and mask the pencil to it, and obviously just scribe the pencil around like so. It's also common for me to use a wedge. Now this is only 6 degrees, but I have got steeper wedges, and sometimes I will use a steeper wedge depending on what I'm doing. So basically the more the pencil protrudes, the higher the line's going to be. So obviously when I was marking out on here I couldn't really do it, but when I do it indoors, which I normally do, I've got the full space of the living room to do stuff like this. So, you know, don't feel you have to build one of these. You know, some scraps of wood will do exactly the same job, as long as it's the correct height. That's all you're looking for. So I just thought I'd mention that before I go any further. So now that we've done that, is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a very small chamfer or a round over, whatever you like to do, around the edges of the leg where I've just cut. And as all this is for is to stop it from splitting. Over time on this leg's getting dragged backwards and forwards and getting knocked, and you know, basically just everyday wear and tear. You know, it can actually split the fibres. You know, similar to what would happen you know, when you're sawing. If you're sawing, sometimes they can split out if you're using a coarse saw. It's kind of the same sort of thing ish. So by putting a round over or a chamfer on this edge, you really minimise that quite a lot. To do that on circular legs, I do tend to use just a file. I don't tend to mark these out. You know, if it was something to do with the decorative aspect of the piece of furniture, I may mark it out, but for the likes of this, I don't really tend to mark things out like this. So I would just use a regular file. But when I'm doing this, I just like so, and just work my way all the way around. Just trying to be consistent with the, you know, with the whole chamfer going round. If you're not comfortable with things like this, by all means trace a pencil line. You can easily do this just by grabbing the pencil like this and just dragging it around like so, if you're not comfortable doing this. And once I've done that, I just finish up with some sandpaper. And that's pretty much it. You know, I've got a little round over there, and that's just going to be enough just to help to stop it from splitting, to minimise that from happening. So another thing to add, after I've went through these, when I'm personally making a piece of furniture or repairing a piece of furniture, I'll always add some floor protection material on the underside of the legs. Now this does two things. Obviously the first one, it helps to protect the floor, but because of the way they work, you can actually get cork, you can get felt. I'd stay away from the felt in my personal opinion. I don't like it. You know, you can get the likes of rubber and you know, things like that. But what I find to do is, once the chair's in its position and it stays in that position, which a lot of benches and chairs actually do, it'll actually start to level itself. So where you might have some really uneven floor, these you know, these pads will actually help for the table or for the chair, you know, to stop rocking basically. You know, on really bad cases, you know, not really bad cases, but cases where the floor's uneven. So I always do things like that. So pretty much that's it. There you go. Nice and level, you know, nice strong bench. If you like what you've seen, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscription button, the bell button, share the video, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, let us know how you do it, let us know what you want to see in the future. Check us out on social media. There'll be links to all my social media, TikTok, Instagram and such. Thanks very much for watching.